What's going on, yo? Five Sports Talk back at it with another video, talking some NBA, talking NBA playoffs, because finally we made it. The playoffs are right around the corner, and I'm here to bring you guys my predictions for the NBA playoffs. So the season was a grind, 82 games, but it was spectacular. Had some great games, had some great play. Russell Westbrook comes to mind, Harden, guys like that. Cavaliers struggling, Warriors losing KD. A lot of good storylines, but again, this is what we play for. The seeds are decided, the teams are decided, and I'm here to give you guys my playoff predictions for both the East and the Western Conference first round. So we will start with the Eastern Conference first, but quick note here, there is a lot of detail that I could go into with each of these playoff opponents and playoff teams and matchups, but this video would then last forever. So I'm going to basically giving you guys some main key points that I think will decide the series. So important points here, but again, not going to try and analytics you to death or numbers you to death. I'm just going to try to keep it to the point. And again, I'm going to be jumping around a little bit here, so let's get started with the Eastern Conference and the 2 and the 7 matchup between the Cleveland Cavaliers and the Indiana Pacers. Now, everybody knows the Cavaliers have been struggling. They've been struggling pretty badly over the really month and a half or 2 months of the NBA season. But does this mean this team is not going to the NBA Finals? Of course they are, and I know I might be giving away a lot here, but again, this is not a huge upset here. I'm picking the Cleveland Cavaliers to beat the Pacers. They just have too much offensive firepower. LeBron James will be able to contain Paul George, who has been on fire over the past month and a half of the season, and if Paul George is not clicking, Indiana isn't clicking. So if LeBron can just neutralize Paul George, that will be more than enough for the Cavaliers to win the series. I do think they are going to be a little lackadaisical and make it harder for themselves than they need to be. But I do believe Indiana, who is weak on the inside and in rebounding, Kevin Love and Tristan Thompson will dominate. And I have the Cavaliers winning this series in 6 games. Again, I'm taking 6 games because I think the Cavs will let the Pacers back in the series even when they shouldn't. So, Cavs in 6. Now let's move on to the matchup between the Milwaukee Bucks and the Toronto Raptors. So, very intriguing matchup here. The Greek Freak, you got DeRozan, Kyle Lowry, so a good amount of star power. And of course, Toronto did acquire Serge Ibaka at the trade deadline, so they added firepower there. So again, Jabari Parker was lost for the Bucks, and I would have liked them a lot more in this series had Jabari been healthy, because he is their second best player by far. So in this series, I've got the Raptors in 6. I wanted to pick Raptors in 5, but they always tend to struggle in first round matchups. They went to 7 games, I feel like last year and the year before that with the Raptors, so they always tend to struggle in first round matchups. But they are the better team here, not just because of playoff experience, but because of the depth that they have that the Bucks just don't. And I'm talking about being able to, again, it's all about the Greek Freak, right? Giannis Antetokounmpo. They got PJ Tucker, DeMar Carroll, Serge Ibaka, and again, a lot of guys they can throw at to stop the Greek Freak. And again, with Jabari Parker lost, you've got Chris Middleton, yes, but other guys, are they going to step up? Michael Beasley, Greg Monroe, Malcolm Brogdon, he's just a rookie. So there's just, to me, not enough firepower on the Bucks side. And for the Raptors, who do the Bucks have that can stop Kyle Lowry or DeRozan? I mean, Giannis can only guard one of them at a time. So, and then you got Ibaka down low. And so, like I said, Milwaukee's a little weak on the inside as well. So Ibaka and Valanciunas should have their way. So I have the Raptors winning this series in 6 games. Next up, we have the Washington Wizards and the Atlanta Hawks. So a decent matchup here, but it's not my favorite just because of the outcome that I think will happen, and that is the Wizards are going to win this series pretty handily. I wanted to go 4 games, guys, but I'm going to go 5. Just give the Hawks a little bit more respect than that. But John Wall has been unreal this season. He has taken that step to superstardom, and the Hawks cannot defend the point guard position. Dennis Schroeder is a revolving door on defense, so John Wall should have his way, and he should have a monster series. Bradley Beal, guys like that as well. So the Wizards is just much more balanced. Otto Porter, Gortat, Markieff Morris, yeah, they haven't been playing well lately, but I do believe they will show up in the playoffs. And then, again, on the Atlanta side of things, just not as much consistency as you would like. I like the Wizards in this one pretty easily. In 5 games, the Washington Wizards win this series. And finally, we have the Celtics and the Bulls, and I did save this one at last for a reason, and that is because of my prediction. Again, I want to pick upsets here, and you might think I'm crazy, but I'm not going to pick the Bulls in this matchup. I'm just saying this is going to be very, very tough for the Boston Celtics. And I'm not just being a homer here. If you follow my channel, you should know I'm a Bulls fan. I'm from Chicago. But this Bulls team, they're very inconsistent. But the one thing that is consistent about them is they play bad against bad teams and good against good teams. And the Celtics are the #1 team, the #1 seed in the Eastern Conference, and I do believe the Bulls will show up. Look, matchup-wise, the weakest position defensively on the Celtics is point guard. Isaiah Thomas has a horrible defensive net rating. So Rajon Rondo, the key here for the Bulls will be if the Rondo who has played well recently shows up, or the Rondo of mid-season to early season. If that Rondo shows up, Bulls are out the door in 5 games, maybe 6. But if this new Rondo shows up, they can push this series, and they can make something out of it. Then you got Jimmy Butler, Jay Crowder. That's a good matchup. Dwayne Wade, Avery Bradley. That's a good matchup. So matchups will dictate a lot in this series. But like I said, the reason I feel like this series is going to go to lengths is because the Bulls have this tendency to play up to their competition. And I believe they will push Boston all the way to their limits. And guys like Al Horford, guys like this have to really step up and play well. And the reason I'm picking the Celtics in this series is because of home court advantage. I think that is going to be the deciding factor because I actually have the Celtics in 7 games. Yes, I think it will be that tough. You have to respect guys like Dwayne Wade and Rajon Rondo and even Jimmy Butler who have playoff experience. There's not a lot of experience on this Boston team. So I still have Boston winning, but in a very, very tough 7-game series. So let's move on to the Western Conference. We will start with the Warriors and Blazers. Damian Lillard has already come out and said that he is picking the Blazers in 6 games. But again, what else is he supposed to say, folks? I hate when people make a big deal out of this. Media people that ask these players, you know, can you predict the series? Of course he's going to predict his team to win. He's not going to say the other team's going to win. So let's stop making a big deal out of this. But no, Blazers are not winning. Warriors in 4 games here. Kevin Durant is back. Too much offensive firepower on the Warriors side. Nurkic is out, and who knows what his health is going to be like. Is he going to be 100% for the playoffs? Because the only weakness on this Warriors team and where you can expose them is in the interior. And if Jusuf Nurkic is not healthy, then the Blazers have essentially no shot. They may have had a sliver of hope, something like that, but now nothing, okay? So Warriors in 4, I don't want to hear it. Let's move on. Next up, we have the Spurs and the Grizzlies. I would like to describe this matchup like describing hot knife going through butter, which is going to go straight through easily. 4 games, Spurs are winning this. They have one big advantage that no other team does. That's Greg Popovich, so I don't want to hear about it. The Grizzlies have had a great season. The fact that they made the playoffs is a big deal as it is. But no Chandler Parsons now. I know he wasn't playing that well anyways, but still, Tony Allen is doubtful, so his health is in question. So essentially, you're relying on Conley and Marc Gasol to basically carry you like they have all season. But on the offensive side of the ball with the Spurs, there's just too many players, too much depth. And again, like I said, not enough offensive firepower on the Memphis side of things. So I like the Spurs to end things quickly here in 4 games. Next up, we have possibly the series to watch in the first round of the NBA playoffs, the one series. I think I can basically say it. It's the Rockets and the Thunder, which is going to be the series that everyone is looking forward to because of Russell Westbrook and James Harden, the 2 leading candidates for NBA MVP. And this is great for a couple of reasons, guys. One, Russell Westbrook is going to win the MVP. I'm fairly confident, which means James Harden is going to be pissed off and he's going to play even better. But let's get to the actual team analysis here. I like the Rockets in 7 here. Very, very tough series. But I'm going to go with Houston because they have way too much depth and they have way too many good three-point shooters. And it's just going to be the Rockets versus Russell Westbrook, who is going to average a triple-double. But it's going to be with him going home because the Rockets have too much depth on their side. Talking about Lou Williams, Eric Gordon, Ryan Anderson, James Harden, Trevor Ariza. Then you got inside bigs, Capella, Montrezl Harrell, Nene. So it's just Sam Decker. It's just a plethora of players and wings. And depth matters in the playoffs, folks. I'm telling you straight up. So Houston is a higher seed for a reason. I like Rockets in a very, very entertaining series in 7 games. And finally, the last series to predict here, Clippers and Jazz. And I left this series, again, to the end for a reason as well, because I am not confident at all at my pick. So I'm picking the Clippers to win this series in 7 games, but the only reason I'm picking the Clippers here is because of home court advantage and partly playoff experience. So the Jazz have been very impressive, one of the best defensive teams in the NBA. I think Rudy Gobert is going to be a monster. He's already a monster, but I think he's going to be a monster in the playoffs, and the entire, NBA universe and outside of Utah Jazz fans are going to get to see Rudy Gobert and just how good he is, and he is the anchor of that Jazz defense. But I still feel like that experience of Doc Rivers and having Chris Paul, Blake Griffin, DeAndre Jordan, and guys like that being there, and even though they haven't had much success in the playoffs, they've been there, they've done that. It's going to be a very, very tough series, but I think the Clippers can pull it out in 7 games. Again, I'm not fairly confident. Jazz could take this in 6 as well, but I'm going with the Clippers in 7 because of home court advantage. But the Jazz are coming. They just need some more playoff experience, and if they had a couple more years under their belt, I would have definitely leaned towards them. But I'm going with the Clippers in this one in 7 games.